Look, I was never one for tour groups and matching hats and all that nonsense. I'm the guy going the other way, looking over the next hedge, over the next bush, through the wood. I've always liked to explore. And instead of trundling about with my little tour guide book, following the footsteps of millions and millions of people, I'm going to go and look for stuff. If I don't find it, will I be embarrassed? No. No, I won't. Not even slightly. Exploring, for me, travelling and exploring, isn't following in the footsteps of everybody else. It's setting my own footsteps. And in the spirit of the Goonies, Indiana Jones, and all those other adventurers, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have a look.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, people. In today's video, I'm going to go back to last year. I did a 2,500 kilometre 5-day road trip to Isan, to rainy Isan. I do have another video that I want to drop. I haven't edited yet, I want to drop, but honestly, you're going to think I'm a bit of a lunatic if I just drop that video without explaining first. So this is going to be a longer video than usual, but we do cover an awful lot of ground around Isan. 2,500 kilometres to be precise. Like I said, in the rain. There are some marvellous sights. I won't go into it too much. I just really want to weave the story a little bit so that you understand why I filmed the next video. I want to give a quick shout out to Isan in general. A beautiful place, and in the rainy season it's a green, lush and pleasant land full of rice fields, farmers, big hats, magnificent moustaches, the mighty Mekhong River, mountains, history, prehistory, Darawadi, Khmer. So, but a shout out in general as well. And the roads in Isan are really, really good. A lot of them are dead straight, built on old roads, and some of them built by the Americans during the Vietnam War.
I know that archaeologists, historians, doctors, all these kind of people, they come up with their point of view based on pretty much who's paying them. Anyway, we joined this road trip on the first day, and it's going to rain every day, by the way. And I'm on the way to Nang Rong, just outside Buriram. I'm going to pick my mate Steve up, and the first location we're going to go to, or the first location we went to, was right here in Phang Rung. It's an incredible place, it blows the mind, and it's built on an old volcano.
Didn't you go and see Shiva's penis?
Yes, I had a stroke.
Did you?
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
The next place we visited was on a twin volcano. Well, this volcano is twin, not too far away, still in Buriram. This place, although it's a newer temple and it's pretty spectacular, I'm sure you'll agree the views are great as well. This temple actually shows a few things from before Phang Rung was built. There are these sema marker stones, which are Dawarawadi. Sorry, I don't know how to say that word. I'm just going to say Dawarawadi. I don't know. Anyway, you got marker stones from there from at least 500 years before Phang Rung was built. I mean, even that gets you thinking that obviously people settled here on this or these volcano tops long before the Khmer came, when all of this land was seen by China and Chinese historians as just their southern islands. The next place we visited on this first day of the trip, Prasat Muang Tham. In many ways, as a place to visit, it's slightly more enigmatic than Phnom Rung. It's certainly more peaceful. And I don't know, it's just got an air of tranquility about it with these Roman or Greek-style baths, shall we call them, or pools, which are all around this building. Anyway, this place, it didn't shift anything in my mind at all. I just thought, wow, what a wonderful place to visit.
Morning, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jimbo of the YouTube channel JB Wanders, and today we're right on the Cambodian border. We're in the middle of the jungle and we're at an old Khmer Rouge hideout. It's very atmospheric. After a very comfortable rest in a 500 baht a night hotel, very clean, the idea was to go right the way over to Priya Viha, or Priya Viha as I like to correctly call it. But I saw another place on the map. I looked it up and it seems a little bit intriguing. If anything, it was very, very much undersold, because we went to the border with Cambodia. We drove straight down to the border and it blew my mind. We came across the first building, pretty amazing, pretty awe-inspiring, pretty atmospheric, just to say the least, right on the edge of the jungle, surrounded by landmines. I mean, there's probably a lot more buildings within this jungle right here. If you go up and look down on Google Earth or whatever, you'll see there's probably all sorts here. Anyway, we drove to the border, wasn't expecting to see all these soldiers and Hummers and all this sort of thing. I got out, had a chat with the guy, and he said, yeah, it's open at whatever time he said. I forget whether it was 8:30 or 9 or whatever it was. He said, it's open here. I told him, yeah, I'm just here with a camera. I'm here just to have a look. No problem. Anyway, so we went back to the second building, a second location, a second temple. That was equally amazing. Walked about. I started to notice certain shapes. I started to notice, for example, on the footprints of the buildings, a lot of these Khmer or these period buildings, they have Catholic or Christian crosses as the blueprint of the building. I don't fully know why. I know some people say it's because of the construction of the bridges and this, that and the other, but just got me thinking, wow, this shape keeps appearing everywhere. Anyway, the other thing I started to notice the day before in Phnom Rung and here were all the holes in the stones. Obviously these are drill holes used back in the day, so that either poles can be put in them so they can be lifted by numerous people or slaves, or they can be dragged up the hill by elephants. So you'll see that all the Khmer temples have these holes, and I think that's one of the ways that we can tell. Anyway, I was not expecting what we saw next. We went into no man's land. If you look at different maps, some people put it in Cambodia, some people put it in Thailand. It's kind of neither. Walked in, it was like walking into the first level of a game, Tomb Raider or something like that. It was surreal as all bejesus as we entered here, and then saw the young soldiers there taking pictures of us. Walked around, soldiers everywhere. Freaked me out a little bit when I went to walk to look at the view, and the guy come running over, because I really hadn't read about this place much before. Now it transpired that it was a hiding place, or a place where the Khmer Rouge held up for quite a while. They destroyed most of it. They took anything of any value to sell it, as they did in any place they went to, pretty much. Although these temples are pretty spectacular, they would have been a hell of a lot more spectacular if it wasn't for the Khmer Rouge and looters beforehand, including that famous American CIA looter who's got a famous house you can look around in Bangkok, Klong Sap. Anyway, as you can see here, there are soldiers. Now, it freaked me out a little bit because it took me a little while to work out, and we chatted to one of them, that it was actually a joint force. On one side of this complex, you had the Thai soldiers. On the other side of the complex, you had the Cambodian soldiers. There was tension in the air, and there was a lot of cigarette smoke going on. Anyway, unbelievable place, and you know fine well
that there's a lot more places like this buried deep in the jungle. Anyway, that was pretty spectacular. And still on this second day, we're up for a big old drive over to Priya Viha, a temple that sparks more than one armed conflict. Anyway, let's go there.
One geezer, mate, he took like about 3 bong hits of tobacco in one go, and the other guy smoked about 3 cigarettes in 7 minutes. So the battle of the tobacco. But apart from that, working together, everyone friendly, what an experience that was.
What can I say about this place that hasn't been said before? This place, or this cliff and this view, is known as Pa Mo I Dang, but a lot of you will know this place as Priya Viha or Priya Viha. You know, that temple that was Thai, then Cambodian, then it was Thai, and then a French came along and changed the line. This place has sparked more than one armed conflict. There have been skirmishes and gunfights and gunfire all around this place. There are landmines all the way down there and all over that field. There have been some atrocities committed at this place, and indeed the Khmer Rouge used this place as one of their final hideouts where they were able to shoot down onto their foes below. Anyway, there's a lovely scale model of the place that you can have a look. We had a look at the bas relief, we had a wander about, admired the view and contemplated for a while about the evil that men do. I was pretty inspired by the view and everything else, but we didn't linger for too long. We still had quite some miles to do on this second day. A lot of distance was covered. So jeopardy, steep cliff. We then headed towards Ubon Ratchathani via a tri-point view of Laos, Cambodia and Thailand, and we went past that massive lake or reservoir happening upon the town. We didn't happen upon it, I planned it. We went to a town called Contentious, and that's the place where 2 rivers meet, and in certain times of year you can see the distinct colours between those 2 rivers. There's a temple right there on the corner that you can visit. We went there the next morning, so had a lovely night's sleep. Cheapest place I've had in years. It was under 400 baht including tax, like 380 baht or something. And it was clean and nice and quiet. There was a lovely market around the corner. We got loads of Isan food from there. Had a cow yum, had meat on sticks, had nam jim jiao, had all sorts of stuff. Anyway, that was the second day. On the third day, we woke up pretty early, went to see that 2 river viewpoint, like I said, and then headed on one of the quietest roads I've ever been on. This morning, our first main point of call was a place called Sampan Bok, 3,000 holes, and it's almost like a Grand Canyon in the middle of the Mekhong River. However, we didn't know this was a seasonal location, a place to be visited pretty much in the dry season when the rock formations loom spectacularly over your head when you're going through in a boat. Anyway, I took the wrong road, which turned out to be the right road. Wrong road, but the right road, down a red dirt track. Fine to get down there without a 4x4. I just had the MG with me. We got through there, got through the mud, and we ended up at what was clearly originally the old visitor centre for this place. Looked like it had been abandoned a few years ago, probably during the global shit show about 4 or 5 years ago.
Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jimbo of the YouTube channel JB Wonders, and we're here at the abandoned visitor centre for Sampan Bok up in Ubon Ratchathani province. We're just near the town of Khmer Rouge. We've driven about 130 odd kilometres from Kong Chiam, and we didn't go through one single village on the way. Anyway, we're going to go to loads of beaches today, loads of viewpoints, and the Grand Canyon of Thailand. It's going to be rainy, but what can you do? It's rainy season. Join us.
Anyway, we walked about there for a little while, had a bit of an explore, and then drove around to the place where you get the boats. They were quite surprised to see us because, like I said, it was rainy season, and a lot of the stuff, well, we couldn't see it. A lot of the rock formations we wouldn't see. However, it was still a lovely journey in the rain. We had intermittent spitting showers and then torrential rainfall. Either way, I enjoyed being on the mighty Mekong with all the rain, and I very much enjoyed the fact that it wasn't blazing sunlight. So anyway, we headed back. Rather wet we were.
Phong tóc ăn Việt Nam mắc học. Phong tóc Việt ngoài đó. Đơn cái đài đó. Welcome to the rainy season in Thailand. 13 more kilometres on this road because I read somewhere that it was a fantastic viewpoint. Let's see.
Every now and then here in Thailand, you come across a place like this. There'll be statues, and strange and odd statues, and they're all pointing their fingers in one direction up a red dirt road. When that happens, one must follow the fingers. This road was paved in 1973. I don't mind a bit of driving. I don't mind driving through the jungle. I don't mind driving, well, anyway. If my car goes, I'll have a go. If the car doesn't get there, I'll reverse. That hasn't happened yet.
And there's some proper steep bits as well. Look at this.
Anyway, I'd heard about this amazing viewpoint, or I'd read about this amazing viewpoint, and you could say if you travel up this part of the Mekong, there are a number of places that you could say this is the best viewpoint, or this is the easternmost point in Thailand. Few places lay claim to that. Anyway, this next place, for me, this is incredible and something that I love to do. I love driving.
Should have looked at the map. This is surprisingly mountainous, and there's a lot of cave art along here, some of which I'd suggest probably hasn't been discovered yet. Maybe we will discover something.
I love views, I love exploring. So to take this road, I forget how long it was, maybe 17 kilometres or something like that, but it was a road built by a temple. When? God knows. It's a really old road, and it gets so steep that there's the signs where you have to beep your horn. So when you're going up the hill, down the hill, around the corner, you've got to go boop, 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 boop. It's incredible. We go through rice fields, we go through amazing rock formations, and statues kind of lining the way and guiding the way, if you like. Anyway, we got there, searched about for a bit, couldn't find this amazing viewpoint and thought, Then we found the temple at the other side and we drove down. And for me, in this weather and this GoPro, it really doesn't do it justice, but for me, this is one of the incredible viewpoints in all of Thailand, because as you approach this giant nagar and then the viewpoint starts to slowly reveal itself, wow, amazing. People have always lived along the mighty Mekhong for thousands and thousands of years. We can see this by caves and cave art stretching back thousands of years, and various settlements, for example, along the Mekhong River, along the Moon River Valley, and places like that. People have been in this part of Southeast Asia forever. We chilled there for probably about an hour or so. I went off on a bit of a hike, did a bit of exploring, and just took in the atmosphere, so to speak. Anyway, the rain was coming on strong. We tried to go to a waterfall, got pretty much to the entrance, and honestly, the road looked like it was about to break. There was water gushing down from the hillside and over the road, and I took the decision to turn around. I said to my mate Steve, if we go in there now and then there's a flash flood, we're fucked. So we turned around and we drove back down this tiny little lane, and truth of the matter is, 48 hours later there was a flash flood there and the road was washed away. Anyway, that, my friends, was day number 3. Day number 4 was epic.
Morning, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jimbo of the YouTube channel JB Wonders, and today we're at a pretty small but magnificent waterfall. It's called Seng Cham Waterfall, and it tumbles through a hole in the rock up there.
On day number 4, we started off at another waterfall. A small waterfall, but if you visit at the right time of year, it is spectacular, beautiful, serene, a wonderful little spot. Again, it was absolutely pissing down with rain. I was a little bit worried about flash floods. There had been warnings. Anyway, we went to this waterfall, had a good look around. You can see, mate, it's gushing through the hole there. It's a nice stop on the way to wherever, because, I mean, this district in general, you can just go out for the day and there are a number of rock formations and waterfalls and viewpoints, all sorts of things. Anyway, for me, the next place was pretty much the reason I came to this district on this road trip. I wanted to go and see the cave art, the rock paintings. For all you Bronze Age thinkers out there, it's time to change. The last 15, 20 years have really started to reshape the history of the world, ancient histories, ancient civilizations, archaeology, all of it. There are mad conspiracy theories, the melt theory, the mud flood, the Tartarians, there's all sorts of different stuff. I'm not interested in any of those conspiracy theories. I'm interested in facts and what they may suggest, because let's face it, archaeologists have been doing this for many years. There are a lot of assertions presented as fact. We know this thing and we know that thing, but they don't. Suppositions and assumptions are used to create a scenario, a desired, politically safe scenario. Stepping outside the prescriptions is not allowed.
Have a mushroom. Now we're going to go and see some cave art, thousands of years old. Well, once upon a time there was a place high up on a cliff by a river, a mighty river that snaked through Southeast Asia. It wasn't called Southeast Asia then, it was called something completely different. Upon this cliff lived a big tribe of people who had actually some sort of order. They had language, they had tools, they had art. They were survivors of something. Or they were 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th generations of survivors of something. And they used to go down there to the river to catch catfish, to catch fish, to hunt food. But why the paintings? Are they telling people over there, this is a great place to come and hunt and fish, or are they saying, this is our spot, we are the Red Hand Gang, if you come and fish over here, we're going to come over there and we're going to f every one of you up.
There were many different things to get the colour, the pigmentation, such things as ochre for the red, beetle, charcoal, clay, minerals. They were all used, and to bind the pigments, urine, egg yolk, plant juices and animal blood. And then they would use the fingers or rudimentary brushes made with animal hair or feathers, or blow the pigment through a pipe. By the way, these fishing devices that you can see there, are they fishing devices? Because I know in the early days of Taem they certainly weren't described as that. There's depictions of them all over the place, as I showed you the slow motion before, as people or beings, aliens or people with funny hats. The only thing I would say is, talking about a worldwide phenomenon,
painting and drawing were done here. Big fish, 3 fishes. Big fish, little fish, cardboard box. 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 As the song or the dance went. When you think about it, we live in a quite precarious position here on Earth. We are only ever one cataclysmic event away from being blasted right back to the Stone Age, whereupon there'll be a few pockets of people alive whose responsibility it is to pass on their knowledge to other people. Now, did they do this through cave art, cliff art? How else could they have done it that would last this test of time? I mean, you can't carve your name into a tree or a building or a piece of wood. The only things there were cliffs and rock walls. It's the only way to get your message across. What was the message? Was there a message? Was it a place of ritual? Was it a place of sacrifice? Was it a place of religion? Was it a meeting place? Was it the local bowls club? Was it a place where people came to do mushrooms and paint? Maybe there were loads more colours, and these are the ones that haven't been faded off. These are the strongest ones that haven't been faded off over the millennia. Maybe people came here to dance. Maybe people were banging the drums and people just got off their nut and started seeing weird and bright colours and everything else. Maybe the animals came to life. Guess we'll never know. That was reasonably arduous. It got quite hot. We got to the end, up to the top, and walked back across the cliff tops. Again, they try and call that the easternmost point in Thailand. It probably isn't. It's probably a few kilometres up the river. Anyway, I digress. That was wonderful. And the car park was the most wonderful Flintstones type car park that I've ever seen. Now, after that visit and wrapping up and that sort of thing, we went down to the big reservoir, skimmed a few stones, walked on the skywalk. One thing an Englishman always learns of his dad, or he should do, and that's how to skim a stone. You've got to be able to do it in any shaped stone as well. Let me show you. Oh, even round ones, look. Round. I join you today back on the road again. yesterday did an awful lot of kilometres, many hundreds of kilometres. I did film something on the way back, left the camera on zoom, didn't pan out that well. Anyway, drove from, we had a day out yesterday in Kong Chiam in Ubon Ratchathani province, and then drove all the way back over to Nang Rong, just near Buriram, dropped my mate Steve off, got my head down for the night in a very comfortable hotel, 500 baht a night. And now this morning I'm on the road again. We're on the way to Pimai Historical Park. Join me. So we got stopped by the border police the other day, and never try and bullshit these people. They're there for a reason, they're trained. Anyway, there was a stop, and it's a kind of a well-known smuggling area, I guess. He looked in the car and he said, all right, where have you been then? I told him where I'd been, to this temple, and he said, oh, okay. And then I said, I don't know why I said Wani Baitiao Panom Rum. And he looked at his mate as if to say, this ain't the road to Panom Rum. They exchanged glances, and I quickly changed it, because we weren't even going there. We'd been there the day before, just thought it'd be easy. So I changed it to Wani Baitiao Pamo Idang. And he went, oh, that's okay, that's okay. I said, yeah, it's about 3 hours. And he went, yeah, no problem. Go. So that's my thing. If you do get stopped by the police, particularly when you're near a border and they're specialist police or border patrol, then don't try and bullshit them. Just tell them where you're going, and in the end they probably won't even ask to see your license. They won't ask anything. They're happy that you're tourist and that you're in their area. And if you just say, look, I'm going out for the day, I'm going here, I'm going there, they're normally pretty happy and don't. Just in general, I should say, the police here in Thailand, for me, something's going to happen in a minute now. I think in general, they're really nice, they're friendly, they're unlike the American police. They do carry guns, but they try and control the situation. They try and talk a person down rather than go in there gun-ho firing. And I think outside the tourist police, I don't know about them, I don't go to tourist areas very often, but when I do get stopped, they're always very nice, very polite. And when I give them a satisfactory answer, they have no reason to stop me or hassle me whatsoever. Anyway, on the way to Pimai. Watcher, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jimbo of the YouTube channel JB Wanders, and this is a fantastic place. It's Pimai Historical Park. Check it out. Another early start, and I drove myself to a place called Pimai, and Pimai Historical Complex is incredible. If you want to know a little bit more about it, watch the video. But Pimai was the only place that wasn't built as a Hindu temple. The Khmer allegedly were all Hindu, and they built Vishnu temples, and then there was Shiva the destroyer that came along later, depending on who the king of the time followed. This place wasn't built as a Hindu temple. This place was built as a Buddhist temple, and indeed it doesn't face east towards Mount Kailash like all the other temples, or face directly to Angkor Wat. Now, the interesting thing about this place is, if you look, Angkor Wat, Panom Rung, and then this place was built first, then Panom Rung, and then Angkor Wat some 100, 200 years later. Now, when you mention that to people, historically speaking, people just say, oh yeah, that was the Pimai Khmer. Was it? Or was it just the Pimai people? Because there's an awful lot of stuff in this region, and some of it's very, very old and you know, that king that came in from Cambodia in the, let's say, the year 1000.
There's lots of stories. I'm not going to go too right-wing Thai nationalist on this, who believe that all the Khmer were slaves. When the French turned up, they were wearing loincloths, they were jungle people. And the story goes there that it was probably the Malaysians, or most likely the Indonesians, that came over as the ruling classes, who were Hindu, had everything built, and the people, the workers, they were all Buddhist, they were all slaves. So when the ruling class was finally toppled, everything after that became Buddhist. I won't go into that too much. This is Pimai. It was built as a Buddhist temple. It's a wonderful place, and you can watch the video and make your own mind up about it. It's got a lovely museum here as well, and a few other ruins nearby. I spent a while there. I had lunch in Pimai. Wonderful. And then I had another drive, really, quite another long drive. So I drove up to, for me, the whole reason for this trip actually was this place. And it's a place called Si Thep, and it changes history, or changes history in this region completely and utterly. I drove all the way up there, checked into a pretty nice resort. It was mid to late afternoon. I thought, what's the point in going there and just being able to spend an hour or two? So I chilled out for the rest of the day, got some wonderful Thai food, and just relaxed. Anyway, here's the last day, and for me, by far the most spectacular day.
Signs absolutely everywhere, no climbing on the monuments. That's because last year, when this was awarded World Heritage status, I think in October, and the whole of Thailand flooded here. And they were all climbing all over the monuments, up and down the stairs and everything. And up until 6 months ago, you could do that. You could drive around here and you could climb up on these. You could go up all the stairs, climb the pyramid and everything else. But they've had to put a stop to this. It went from 300 visitors a day to 7,000.
Si Thep Historical Park achieved UNESCO World Heritage status late in 2023 because it can be clearly seen the changeover from an Indianized culture into a local Buddhist culture. There was an Indianized culture here from the 4th to the 5th century. Next couple of hundred years it became very much Hindu influenced but local people, and then we saw the changeover into Buddhism. The Dawarawadi were in control here for at least 400 or 500 years before the Khmer came. And I'd like to focus on that early part here because it's of relevance. We're here in a oval or a circular shaped walled and moated town, which was inhabited for at least 200-300 years before the Dawarawadi expanded into the outer town, which, as you can see, is more of an oblong or rectangular shape. That outer town has a plethora of buildings, most of which are unexcavated because it's still farmland. This is a historical hotbed, and all the stuff that was looted or sold from here when the laws weren't quite so strict has created this thing called the Si Thep School of Art, which went on to influence other cultures in Southeast Asia. And if you just do a quick Google search, you can see that a lot of that art is for sale today. If you want to know the history of this place, please watch my previous video here where I go into great detail. You know, forget all the history blah blah for a moment, if you will. I'm seldom, if ever, shocked here in the country of Thailand, but this building more than raised my eyebrows. It was previously buried under a layer of dirt or a sedimentary layer with trees on top, although there was a big lotus hole at the top. Some say it's a bit similar to a building, Wat Klong in Ratchaburi, Kubur in Ratchaburi. I disagree. But look at these chubby dwarves, yakshas, call them what you will. Have you ever seen anything like this in Southeast Asia? India, Sri Lanka, maybe, but not here in Southeast Asia. I should add, that they would have been covering probably most of this building pre-looting days. And do you know what? I've even seen one online for sale as at today. The relevance of showing you this in today's video is because I wandered around here for a couple of hours and it dawned on me. I was looking at a map and I was looking at Google Earth and I thought, you know what? I know another place like this in Thailand. Forget the Moon Valley for a moment. I know another place altogether that isn't listed pretty much anywhere. It's another place that's a walled city, or was a walled city, has two Khmer prangs in it from a later date. I suspect hasn't been LiDAR tested, hasn't been dug up too much. There are some strange looking mounds there, put it that way. Anyway, I thought to myself, I know another place like this that actually has 2,500-year-old skeletons and indeed has a rather intriguing history. But I thought to myself, I wonder if some simple measurements I could connect this place to Si Thep, because exactly 2 kilometers north of Si Thep lies the most remarkable structure I've ever seen. And I started to think to myself, I wonder if this other walled ancient city in Thailand, I wonder if that has a similar structure exactly 2 kilometers to the north.
This next place we're going to visit is the one that really blew me away. I wasn't expecting this. Now, when we talk about buried buildings, I was just expecting like an archaeological or a sedimentary layer, but do you know what? There's no layer. There's no layer here. This has been buried. There are 2 buildings here that were buried. Why were they buried? I don't know. Were they buried in a similar fashion to what's going on in Turkey at Göbekli Tepe and some of the other places, including, I think it was called Norsen Tepe, the place that they actually dug up in the 1960s and then flooded. As we go on, it's 2025, a lot more people are getting interested in ancient civilizations, ancient history, lost civilizations. And shit just keeps getting older all around the world. It doesn't matter what country you go to, things just keep getting older, and the things that we find keep getting older. The general line is that this shows the changeover in an Indianized cultural civilization into more of a Thai or a Siamese or this part of the world culture. The God King, all of that stuff. But my question is was this the only place from this era, 15 to 1700 years ago, was this the only place in this area of what is now Thailand, what was Siam and what was before a load of different places? Is it the only area that had buildings, or the only city that had buildings like this? It can't be, can it? It can't be. This can't be the only place where the Indianization crosses over into Southeast Asia. And I'm going to make it my mission to look for more of these places, not the places that are already dug up like Suphanburi and the ancient city of Utong, but all the way across the land, but particularly in the west, because that's where Sri Lanka and India would have come from. Maybe through the south, maybe over, maybe both. But I intend to, I'm not going to be dramatic and Indiana Jonesy and say find out. I'm just going to go and have a look. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and do you know what? If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But I'd rather go on a wild goose chase and an adventure through the countryside than I would sit on the sofa and watch soap operas.
Long story short, I spent a few hours in Si Thep, and then I drove exactly 2 kilometers north to a place just over 10 years ago was a hill, was an earthen hill covered in trees. Okay, sure, the locals knew there was something in there because, for other reasons, looters had been there. There was a hole in the top of the hill again where looters had been in and nicked quite a lot of stuff. Were those looters from here? Were they Khmer? Were they local people? Were they from Bangkok? Were they white people? Who knows? But a lot of the stuff is on the market right now. You can find it, some of the Si Thep stuff. Anyway, this place, for me. This is really, really weird, because that you've never seen a building like this. On first look, you think, oh, it's another pyramid. It's a Central American thing. Oh, it's similar to Kokura and this, that, and the other. Now, of course, we've got a tremendous amount of experts telling you exactly what it is. They don't know what it was. They're guessing. So this was a buried structure, as you can see, looks like a pyramid, had something on top of it. I would suggest it was most likely one of the first Buddhist universities or learning places. Now, experts will tell you, oh, this looks very much Gupta era period, or this looks like another period in India or Sri Lanka, or could it go back to King Ashoka himself, Ashoka, from around about Jesus' time, really. Anyway, one thing we do know, this building was buried. It's not written about anywhere in history. Ayutthaya times, Sukhothai times, none of it. None of this is written, okay? So this building's been dug up very recently, and it does make you think about ancient history and about what happened before the Khmer. Thai PBS did LiDAR on this area, and wow, they discovered the presence of buildings, or the shape of buildings, a plethora of them all around this place, suggesting that this indeed was a town or a city, or it could have even been a separate town or a city from a different era to the one in the wall. For those skeptics out there, Klang Klang Nok was buried for at least 1,000 years, possibly 1,500 years, or a lot more. It was covered in dirt, not a sedimentary layer, not an archaeological layer. It was buried in dirt, There were trees all over it. And I'll tell you what, I haven't looked at a mound of earth that size since. I drive around the countryside, especially when I'm close to ancient ruins, and I look at places like that and I think, oh, what if? That's pretty much why I wanted to make this video as an intro to the next video, so it doesn't seem completely batshit crazy. Anyway, it took me almost 8 months to get out there. Couldn't find anyone that wanted to go really, and most people that I'd mentioned it to just kind of laughed at me. Anyway, in the next video, we're going to go and try and find a lost civilization. Look, I was never one for tour groups and matching hats and all that nonsense. I'm the guy going the other way, looking over the next hedge, over the next bush, through the wood. I've always liked to explore, and instead of trundling about with my little tour guide book, following the footsteps of millions and millions of people, I'm going to go and look for stuff. If I don't find it, will I be embarrassed? No. No, I won't. Not even slightly. Exploring, for me, travelling and exploring, isn't following in the footsteps of everybody else. It's setting my own footsteps. And in the spirit of the Goonies, Indiana Jones, and all those other adventurers, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have a look.